Well, hello there. Thanks so much for coming back to watch my video about how I make healthy and simple meals while I'm traveling and on the road. And I did go to Whole Foods to do my purchasing, and I tried to find a very healthy grocery store no matter where I'm going. And I did know going into the grocery store that the Residence Inn where I was staying did not really have great kitchen setups, and I actually ended up changing rooms several times because of some other things, but the room that I ended up in actually did not really have pots and pans. It had a stock pot, but that was really about it. So I was kind of limited on what I could buy at the grocery store, but as it turns out, that worked out pretty well for me anyway because I had so many things going on. And I basically spent about an hour and a half kind of doing a little bit of meal prep, which you're here watching me do right now. And this lasted me for my 4-day trip. And I did also cut up some carrots before this, and we'll cut up the celery that I'm washing, and so that I have that all kind of done beforehand. And then basically I'm on autopilot and I can just kind of pack my lunch and dinners and whatnot so that I can eat healthfully. And for those of you who don't know, and I don't even know if I've mentioned this in any of my videos, I have been on a weight loss journey and getting myself healthy. So I do have a macro type diet plan that I'm following on a regular basis. And they're different phases. So sometimes I'm able to have fats and sometimes I was able to have some of that. But right now what I'm doing is separating my lettuce because I'm going to have lettuce wraps, and I'm saving the most perfect lettuce pieces for those lettuce wraps, and then the pieces that are not in such great shape, and then the smaller pieces I'm using for my salad. And that's really what I'm making today. And I was going to talk to you about some of the products that I purchased, and this makes it easier for me when I'm traveling and on the road. And you may be able to adopt some of those same things for yourself. So I do try to find things that are pre-cut and pre-packaged, but I also pretty much only eat organic versus conventional vegetables and fruits. So it sometimes can be a little challenging to find things that are more kind of pre-prepared for you that way without stepping outside of my boundaries of only eating whole foods. So what I am able to find is shredded cabbage, which is great. Also, sometimes I can find organic broccoli slaw, which is a real winner for me. And but for this particular salad, I am using those leftover lettuce leaves, as you can see. And I'm going to be making a low-fat yogurt dressing as well. That's kind of like a ranch dressing. And I'm actually putting the lettuce away now to get that off the counter. It's kind of just a small prep area that I'm working with. So here's my yogurt. And for this particular recipe, I'm just kind of eyeballing it, and I'm just using like a heaping tablespoonful of unflavored, plain Greek yogurt. And I believe it is non-fat, and I think it's the store brand. And I also bring, anytime I'm traveling, I'll usually will have a small container of my own homemade seasoning salt with me. And that recipe is fairly simple. It's just garlic powder, onion powder, smoked paprika, whatever herbs that I'm in the mood for, and salt, pepper, sometimes red pepper flakes. So it it's just kind of made up, and it's usually about equal parts. So that's what I'm adding into the yogurt now to make the dressing. So what happens is it actually has a flavor that's very similar to ranch, especially if I add a lot of extra herbs and garlic to it. So I'm just adding probably about a teaspoon's worth of my seasoned salt to that mixture. And I'm also going to add a squeeze of lemon, and a really great thing for, oh, and I see also a dash of apple cider vinegar. That's what was in the little red container. So just a little bit. And then I also am adding this fresh lemon. And I don't know if you know this trick or not, but if you'll roll a lemon or a lime on the counter before you cut it open, it releases all those juices inside, and it's so much tastier and juicier. So if you haven't tried that trick, I highly recommend it. But I'll just take a nice sized slice of lemon and then add that to the dressing that I'm making after I remove seeds, of course. And the other nice thing about having a lemon is that you can add it to seltzer water or regular water, and or even mineral water, and it's really tasty. It's kind of like a nice mocktail. Very refreshing, especially as we're heading into the summer months. So once I'm able to mix up that dressing, I kind of like to do that first because then I can let that marinate a little bit and the flavors kind of infuse a lot more nicely. So it just has, I think, a better taste if you take a little bit of time and make some of the other things or put the salad together and just let that kind of sit on the counter a little bit just to marinate. And it looks like we have a winning combination there, so that's great. And the other thing that I'm doing as I'm making the salad is I've got a small travel scale with me, and part of my eating plan is that I do weigh and measure certain vegetables and my fruit serving as well as my protein serving, unless it's like eggs, which I know what it's my at this stage I'm doing 3 eggs as my protein. And again, thinking of things that you can pick up at the grocery store that make your life a little bit easier when you're traveling and almost have, their own little container, is these little salad peppers. And that's what I'm making or cutting apart right now. But you don't even have to cut them apart. As long as they're clean, you could even, eat them down to the seeds if you didn't really have a way that you had a knife or a sink or anything like that. So it just makes it more portable. And you'll see that I also have those cucumbers, the cute little salad cucumbers as well. And sometimes those are really pricey, but I guess if I'm traveling, I can kind of justify it. I won't buy them all the time, but for this particular trip, they were a decent price. And I like having that because I can also count out in my mind, how many meals will I have, will I need to have each cucumber, and it just helps me to be able to do my planning a little bit better than if I maybe had a larger cucumber that wasn't weighed and I just didn't know how many servings I could get out of it. So any way that I can kind of help myself is really important to me. And the other thing that I really like about the peppers in particular is that they're bright and cheery and they look good. So it's a feast for the eyes as well as it is for your tummy. And I think that's super important. So now I'm working on celery, and I will go ahead and typically chop up the entire stalk of celery so that I have cut up pieces while I'm staying at the Residence Inn or Airbnb, wherever I am. So it makes it just easier for me to pack my lunch every day. And obviously, if you don't like celery, you don't have to do celery, but it's a free vegetable along with cucumbers for me, so that's why I use it. And I do like it, actually, and I find it's funny that I actually crave celery now, which is really funny because I'm not sure that I could ever say that before. And if you're not a fan of celery, I will tell you that if you buy the lightest color green celery that you can find in all of the bunches, that one is going to taste a lot more mild and almost be sweet, and a lot better than the really green celery that's like spring green, because that tends to be a little bit more bitter. So anyway, just a tip. And now I'm going to be using another one of my favorite things, and that is coleslaw mix, basically. So I can find sometimes organic, either broccoli slaw or shredded cabbage, and that's what I'm doing here. So I'm adding that to my lettuce. And so it's already cut up for you, and it's pretty, because usually it's a combination of the red cabbage as well as the green. So that adds extra color, and that's also a freebie vegetable for me, so I can have that. And so I'm really bulking up my salad, and it's going to be a really great lunch. Now, I am weighing some vegetables now, and it's the tomatoes that I do have to weigh. That is actually my weighed vegetable. So I will weigh out my 5 ounces of my tomatoes and and be very happy about that. So once I add those to the salad, then I'm going to start on my protein. And I actually have 2 different proteins that I'm adding to my salad. And the first thing is these pre-prepared organic eggs, which I'm very happy that I can find. They're with Vital Farms, and it's nice to have this. I would prefer to boil my own, and but it is what it is. Again, with the lack of cooking equipment in the room, I felt like this was good enough. And the other thing that I brought, or that I purchased when I was there, was some, I can't remember if it was chicken breast or turkey breast, and that turned out to be a really great addition to the meal as well. I really liked the fact that this was sliced, and it made it very easy for me to actually weigh my portion of what I needed, because I was combining both my egg and my protein of this chicken breast or turkey breast. So I was kind of having to calculate that, but it made it a lot easier that everything was already cut up. And I, again, typically don't purchase things that are already kind of pre-made, but under this special circumstance, this made it a lot easier for me to be able to prepare my meal and have something fairly healthful that wasn't overly processed. So now it's a matter of putting it all together. So with all of my proteins there, and now I'll be able to also add my delicious dressing that is so tasty. This is such an easy recipe, and it really is satisfying and delicious. And oh, also having strawberries for dessert is also important. But here you go. What do you think? It turned out really beautifully, tastes delicious, and really with the lemon juice added to, just over a tablespoon of this yogurt, it really gives you plenty of dressing, and again, was so satisfying. All of the lettuce was perfectly and evenly coated, and all of my vegetables had essentially like a ranch dip with them, so it was very, very tasty and super satisfying. So I really appreciate you being here today. Thanks so much for watching and being able to see my beautiful salad and my amazing strawberries that were so tasty. And I'll see you in the next one. Please subscribe and or like if you found this helpful. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.